It's Chief. We are in the building. It is NFL Showdown pre-lock. We're starting this thing an hour earlier now. I know RG's been doing this for all the Showdown shows, getting it in earlier so that you guys can hear our thoughts and then have time to process that and maybe put it with some of your own thoughts. And let's see if you have what it takes to take down one of these Showdown slates. I'm here with my good friend TJ Zwarych up in Saskatoon, Canada. TJ, I know today's not going great on the fantasy front. We'll see how it goes on the props front. For me, I'm in a good spot in a couple things, but you know how this goes, TJ. One bad thing could derail a 25x or a 10x. So not going to get any chickens counted before they hatch. It's showdown time. This is the show that brings the spice. How are you doing, brother?
Doing very well. Looking to recoup some main slate losses with the showdown slate tonight. It started out looking like it was going to be a really, really good day, and then just didn't quite have the right combos. But looking forward to this evening's game. Should be fun. Probably not a lot of defense played and a lot of points scored.
Yeah, I hope we get it. I've kind of built for a script to have the passing game rolling on both sides. So I'm hoping, TJ, that's what we see. I'm hoping we see the passing game really take off here. And I'll have some exposure to Mr. Tracy in terms of rushing attempts, but even on the props front, I'm a lot more heavily invested in passing stuff than running stuff. So we're going to kick this thing off, TJ, as we always do. We're going to captain on DraftKings. So we cover DraftKings first, and we will cover FanDuel as well. So I don't want anybody to get that confused. We will cover FanDuel. But DraftKings, as we always talk about, TJ, gives us an opportunity for a bit more strategy because of I always call it a penalty, but they increased the salary for the captain to make you have to do some different things in those flex positions. So, TJ, in terms of captain, if you can nail the game script and showdown, typically you'll give yourself a chance to win. What's your game script in your mind for the captain position that you're going to attack tonight?
You know, I think my two favorites are going to be pass catchers for Green Bay. For the New York Giants here, I like Darius Slayton a lot. Had a huge game without Neighbors last week. And then Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be my other favorite guy up top. Looking to get to a lot of both of them today. Jones and Burrow, both great options as well. If I'm playing cash, if I'm playing super small field, don't mind that. But in a large field thing, I'm probably more likely to pick Wan'Dale or Slayton. I think my third choice would probably be Tyrone Tracy. These Bengals players are just a bit too expensive for me to want to be loading up at them in the captain. I do have some Burrow. I do have some Chase. I do have a little Brown, Higgins, and Moss in the captain positions. But for the most part, it's my favorite teams are with Wan'Dale, Tracy, or Slayton at the captain position.
I totally get it. And I know you probably, I don't want to say touched on it, but TJ, I think not only are you leaning into that because of the passing game, are you leaning into that more because of the price? Because to me, like pricing and game script play a huge part into, leaning into the Giants players with Robinson, Tracy, or Slayton, like especially Slayton at 9,900, where we saw him get pretty nice amount of target share last week. And I think that continues again this week. Slayton was absolutely my favorite just because of the price. And I was caught off guard, TJ. He's really not picking up a lot of ownership. So can you elaborate a little bit more on Slayton? I think at 9,900, he's one of the better options. I mean, and you can still get so much in by playing him on that cheap end at captain. Feels like one of the best cheaper captains we've seen in a long time, besides maybe Trey Mason getting ruled in for that Monday night game the first week where Christian McCaffrey got ruled out, and you could get Mason for, I don't know, $200, whatever it was.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I'm in the same page with you there. Sorry, just putting in my last couple lineups here. But what was where like cheapies, like were you asking if there's anybody I'd go cheaper than that, or just same
No. I'm saying is your
Robinson,
focus with
Slayton, yeah.
your focus with Robinson, Slayton, and Tracy. Is it because of game script or a combination of game script and price? I think price is a huge determining factor tonight at captain with those guys.
Yeah, it's mostly the price thing. You're absolutely right. Like Wandale and Slayton just so much cheaper than the top options for the Bengals. Like Chase and Higgins are just so expensive. They're tough to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I don't think we're going to be in the majority here. Also, TJ, that's the interesting part. I don't think we're in the majority. Well, Wandale's picking up when I say a fair amount, I'm saying comparable ownership to Chase or Joe Burrow. But and even Daniel Jones is picking up about 15%. We've got Slayton projected for 6.8, Tracy projected for 7. Like those are really, really low numbers. So I like the call there. Any other interesting captains you're interested in? I feel like the main guys are the main guys. Anybody spicy, Steve? Anybody want to use to make a splash?
The spiciest I think I'm probably going to get would be Darius Slayton, maybe in my 20 entry max, the kickers. But other than that, like I don't think I'm going any Theo Johnson or Eric All, Mike Gesicki at captain, nothing like that. No defenses at captains for me. So I'd say the spiciest I'm probably getting at captain is Darius Slayton. But even in 3 entry max, like that would be one of my 3 captains.
Absolutely. Well, looks like TJ is going to be making a splash with Giants players. And if you want to make a splash, Splash Sports is raising the game with their brand new Quick Picks contest, giving you a chance to win up to 12x your entry. Just pick more or less on any stat categories and build your entry using at least 2 selections. Now available in 34 states, Splash Sports is the ultimate platform for peer-to-peer fantasy and betting contests. Challenge the RG experts at https://splashsports.com/RotoGrinders, and use the promo code ROTO10, not grinders, that's ROTO10 to get a $10 credit when you join your first contest. We've still got the RG NFL Listener League going on. I've been in that contest every week. Shout out to Super Dog for taking down the Week 5 Listener League. Don't forget to join in on the fun each week with the RG Listener League and play alongside other viewers as well as your favorite hosts, including myself. You'll have a chance every week to compete for first place and win yourself a month of RG Combo Premium. Check out our description for an invite to the contest when it goes live on Wednesday. And if you don't have Combo Premium, how about hopping into Combo Light? Introducing Combo Light, our newest product, gives you the power of simulation for a fraction of the price of other tools. Competitors charge hundreds a month for their sim products. Combo Light is just $39.99, and it includes our SimLabs lineup building tool plus content from some of your favorite DFS analysts. Combo Light doesn't limit you to one sport either. It includes SimLabs access to the 4 most popular sports, which would be MLB, NFL, NBA, and PGA. You won't find a more cost-effective option anywhere. Speaking of cost-effective, we're being cost-effective in the captain. TJ, I think that means we may want to spend some money in the flex. Who are we playing in the flex?
Yeah, 100%. Looking to spend some money there. This is where I'm trying to get as much Jamar Chase as I possibly can. I think he's really tough to get to in the captain, but I still want to be playing him in the flex, as much as possible. So he's going to be my top option here. Both the quarterbacks are great. I actually feel like I prefer Daniel Jones a little bit over Joe Burrow just because of that price tag. And I think Jones has a few more routes to get there. I think the game script's going to be positive going his way, but I think we're going to see more of a running game from the Bengals than we will from the Giants. And so I like Daniel Jones just a little bit better than Joe Burrow. Higgins is going to be a priority. The running backs, Chase Brown and Zach Moss, they do fall lower on the priority list for me, which I find scary. But if they just basically split it down the middle, then we're fine.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. When you're talking about Brown versus Moss. Game script included. If we think TJ that this is a shootout, I know they've kind of been splitting. Like if you had to lean one way or another, like if you said, hey, if somebody asked the question, it's either Moss or Brown, I can only take one. Who do you lean with the one?
It'll depend on my build. If I'm building for the Bengals to be in the lead, then it's Brown. He's getting more touches as the season goes, but he's still basically only playing in 12 personnel sets. And so I would go Brown if I'm building like a heavy Bengals to lead. But if in general, in a vacuum, I would give the slight preference to Moss.
Okay. All right. Sounds like lean Moss overall. Brown if you're building with the lead. All right, TJ, obviously we want to get in plenty of Jamar Chase. We know that we want Slayton in the captain, but at 6,600, I'm hopping to wide receiver here. It does feel like he's still extremely viable in the flex. I mean, this is really affordable for a guy that was a slate breaker last week. I'm not saying he's a slate breaker this week, TJ, but I do think his targets are going to be there for him to be very productive. We want a lot of him in the captain. Does that mean you are minimizing your exposure in the flex, or are you going to continue to beef it up in lineups that he's not your captain?
No, I'm going to be playing a ton of him even when he's not my captain. He's going to be a focal point for me in the flex position, trying to get as much of him as I possibly can. Should be heavily target, most likely guy on the Giants to break a long touchdown. And so I love him on both sites. He's too cheap on both sites. I think especially FanDuel at 8,500, he is probably the most mispriced player on the slate. He'd get the lock button from me over there on FanDuel.
Okay. Oh, captain, my captain Slayton, but also we're beefing him up in the flex. I am hopping around a little bit today because I know the show isn't like right now. So I'm kind of going with the pricing, TJ, and going with some thoughts here. The kickers aren't in the 4K range on this slate, which is interesting to me. Most times we see the kickers somewhere between 40, 44, and 4,800, TJ. On today's slate, we've got the kickers at 5K to 5,200. So does that diminish your interest for the kickers? It doesn't for me. Let me just make that clear. But for you on DraftKings, is this something that diminishes your interest when you've got a tight end at 4K, another receiver at 44, a running back at 3K, and Eric Gray? Like, how do you rate the kickers compared to other value guys now that their prices increased ever so slightly?
They're still totally fine. I'm not worried about the price as much as the builds I'm going for don't land me on the kickers very often in this slate. Like, I want to get to as much of Chase and Burrow up top as possible. I like Slayton and Robinson in the mid-range. Same with Tyrone Tracy. I typically end up with lineups where my last pieces are more in the 3K range as opposed to the 5K range. And so usually when I'm building in the mid-range, I get a lot of the kickers, which has been really good for Showdown this year, just because they kind of work in that 4 to 5K range. But I'm not needing a lot of players in the 5K range today, and so I'm not actually getting that much of either of them.
Understood. I'm always a kicker guy, TJ. Like always, almost because I understand any of these kickers hit a 50-yarder and a 40-yarder and another 40-yarder and like an extra point. Like, TJ, that's 14 points. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's just they can rack up points quickly if for some reason the offenses are stalling. So, I love the kickers. I think the kickers are going to be fine, even with the increased price, especially when we're getting cheaper pieces from the wide receiver and running back game outside of maybe Chase and Burrow, who are pretty expensive. All right, let's go to defenses. I don't plan to play either defense, CJ. Are you playing any defenses tonight?
I have the Bengals defense in a team that has Chase Brown at captain and Zach Moss on the team as well. That is it.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I think I like that. TJ, let's
basically
go
just
ahead
full on like blowout, like full blowout. Chase Brown's getting all the run at the end. Zach Moss is involved because of how much they're running the ball, and Bengals get a touchdown or two on D. So that's kind of like the full Bengals route team.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally get it. All right, TJ, we'll come back and let's maybe talk about quarterback and on the Showdown show. I mean, not Showdown, on DraftKings. We'll talk about quarterback after we move over to FanDuel. Let's see if we can cover FanDuel for these people and talk through it, because with FanDuel, we're not getting the salary penalty. So I do want to start. I want to start with quarterback there. What are your thoughts on FanDuel, where quarterback may be a little bit more valuable with the half-point PPR in the captain position? What's your thoughts at quarterback?
Daniel Jones, with his rushing upside, coming in at significantly less ownership than Joe Burrow, he's going to be my favorite sort of optimal captain today for tournaments. I see a FanDuel GPP large field, one bullet favorite MVP and favorite low on flex from Carolina guy. I would say Daniel Jones is probably my favorite MVP here. If I'm looking to get off the board, I like T. Higgins coming in at low ownership. Either of the Bengals running backs I think are very viable in a large field. Same with Tyrone Tracy. And then if I'm trying to get like way off the board, I don't think it's crazy to play Slayton at MVP. Like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's not out of the realm of possibility for him today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I totally get it. And Daniel Jones, as bad as we feel like he's been like over the last couple seasons. I know he was hurt last year, TJ. He's always been a guy that's had some rushing upside sporadically. So we're not saying he's out here rushing for 40 yards every game, but like 1 out of every 4, let's say, TJ, he's popped for 40, 50 yards. And I'm not saying he's rushing for 50 yards tonight, but I am saying the upside is there. He pulls it at the right time, and suddenly we're cooking with hot grease. So I like Jones in the MVP spot. Also, you've already mentioned Slayton here, where he's 8,500, which is probably one of the best plays in the slate. Slayton is priced with Andre Yochevas, who isn't going to get nearly as much passing work as him. Let me ask you this, TJ, and this might be slightly spicy. Is Slayton a person you're hitting the lock button on FanDuel? Is he a lock button play?
100% of lineups.
Yep. Those are my thoughts. All right, folks, we're hopping back over to DraftKings. TJ, let's talk a little bit of quarterback there. I feel like it might be similar in terms of how you view it, especially since Daniel Jones is $1,000 cheaper than Burrow. But I do think we're probably playing them both. Thoughts at quarterback, and then we'll start taking some questions.
Yeah, I do like both of these quarterbacks today. I think I like them more in the flex than I do in the captain position. My preference between the two of them would be Daniel Jones again at the MVP position if I'm picking one of the two. And that's mostly because he's a lot easier to stack with than Joe Burrow is at the captain position. I can play Jones with Wandale and Slayton, Theo Johnson, and then still be able to afford some of these Bengal players to play alongside them. Whereas with Burrow, if I want to play him at captain, well, I'm going to want his pass catchers. I probably want both Chase and Higgins. And if I do that, it's really, really hard to build a good lineup around that.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally get it. Let me just say this, TJ. If I was building a lineup right now, it would probably be Slayton captain. Like if I was building live on the show, it would probably be Slayton captain. Next in for me would be Daniel Jones. Next in for me would probably be Rondale. Next in for me would probably be T. Higgins. And then I'd figure it out from there. Like if I were just building one, I think that's how I would be building initially. Like that would be, my read there. Because I do think, and I know we haven't really, I guess, talked about it extensively.
How do we start it? We got Slayton at captain.
Yep. Daniel Jones. T. Higgins.
I think that's a nice start because it leaves you with the opportunity. Yeah, it leaves you with multiple different options you could go with there. You stick in the mid range and you get your Wandales or your Tracy's or Mosses, and it leaves you enough salary for kickers or mid-tier players. Or if you want to get Burrow in that lineup, it still leaves you 58.50 for the last two positions. And so I think that is a really nice start to a lineup there on DraftKings. I'm with you. Let's hit some questions.
Yep. So I guess I'm going to I'm headed to the live stream chat first, TJ. Live stream chat first. So everybody hop on in there. If you haven't put a question in there and you did have a question, please, hop on in. I'm there, ready to roll. And it looks like right now, not FanDuel. Yeah, FanDuel. This is from Carolina Guy, our boy, Carolina Guy. FanDuel large field GPP, one bullet. Favorite MVP and low owned flex, TJ.
Yeah, I hit on that one already there. Actually, when we switched to FanDuel, I asked that question there.
Yeah,
but we go Daniel Jones and Slayton as your guys there.
All right, and that's the only one we have in live stream chat. So going back to the YouTube chat here, and I'm going to go in reverse here. How many Chase Brown lineups at captain if playing 150? That's coming from Eric Johnson.
10%, so like 15 lineups, okay. Probably.
Understood. All right, next one up. QQ FanDuel, Chase Brown, Wandale Moss, or McPherson the kicker. Let's actually ask that question a little bit because I'm trying to figure out is he asking, do we choose one of these guys perhaps? I guess that's what he's saying.
Of that group, on FanDuel, I would go one of the Bengals running backs, probably. That's tough. Probably Moss would be my favorite option of that group. On FanDuel specifically, on DraftKings, it would be Wandale for point per reception, but on FanDuel, probably Moss.
Okay. This is coming from Zach Akins. And we haven't really talked about Eric Gray. I did mention Eric Gray when we were talking about kicker, TJ, because he was one of those cheaper value pieces. Thoughts on Eric Gray?
Don't love Eric Gray today. I'm probably more likely to play Theo Johnson in that range or Eric All, a little bit more expensive, just because after Gray fumbled, it was basically all Tracy for the Giants. And when he played such a good game, I don't see them likely to use Gray a ton.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm with you. I'm trying to see if we have any more questions, TJ. We don't really have any more questions. So hopefully, TJ, that means that we have done our jobs well. Hopefully that means we have put people in the right positions. I'm excited about this slate. I've already got some stuff in, so I'm looking forward to this one. Hopefully it's really fun, TJ. I feel like we have a good handle on this one. And do you have any final thoughts for the good people out here at RG?
No, that's about it. I think on DraftKings, Wandale Robinson and Darius Slayton are the must-play guys over there. If we're feeling it in our plums, that kind of thing, I think Slayton would be the guy that I'd go with. On FanDuel, Jones is probably my favorite MVP, and Slayton would get played in 150 and 150, a lock button, 100% of my lineups.
All right, folks. I'm Chief. That is TJ. This has been the Showdown Lot Show. Got one more question coming in hot right at the closing. Okay, that is the name of the person. Okay, FanDuel Flex, Burrow or Chase?
Chase.
And we are chasing ourselves out of here. Good luck, everybody, in your Showdown show. We'll see you back here next week, 6:40 Eastern Standard Time.